Hello, everyone, and welcome to Speak English for Beginners. I'm Emma, and I'm very happy that you're spending some time with us today.
And I'm Gak. Wherever you are right now, maybe at home, in your car, on a train, or walking outside, we hope you can relax and enjoy some natural English with us.
Today, we're talking about the English you need for real life, not English for a difficult exam, and not strange words that you may never use.
Exactly. We're talking about the English that helps you handle normal situations, solve small problems, talk to people, ask questions, and feel more comfortable in everyday life.
And because this episode is for B1 to B2 learners, we'll speak naturally, but we'll also keep our ideas clear and easy to follow.
You don't have to understand every single word. Try to follow the situation, notice useful expressions, and pay attention to how people respond to each other.
Let's begin with a question. Jack, when you hear the words real-life English, what comes to your mind?
Honestly, I think about all the little conversations that nobody plans. Someone asks you a question in a store, a neighbor starts talking to you, or you need to explain a problem on the phone.
That's a good point. In a lesson, you usually know what you're going to practice. Real life doesn't give you the questions before the conversation starts.
Unfortunately, no. Imagine arriving at a coffee shop and the employee says, "Okay, Gak, today we're practicing ordering coffee. Please open your book to page 12."
I would actually love that.
Me too. But normally they say something quickly, there's noise behind you, three people are waiting, and suddenly you forget every English word you've ever learned.
I think many learners know that feeling. You understand English when you're studying, but when a real person speaks to you unexpectedly, your brain needs a few seconds.
And that's completely normal. Real conversations include different accents, unfinished sentences, background noise, and expressions that don't always look like textbook English.
So let's imagine a normal day and look at the kind of English we might actually need. You leave home in the morning and stop at a cafe.
That sounds realistic for me. Coffee is an important part of my communication system.
You walk inside and the person behind the counter says, "Hi, what can I get for you?"
That's a very common question. It simply means, what would you like to order?
And you could answer, "Could I get a medium coffee, please?" You might also say, "I'd like a medium coffee, please."
Both sound natural. Could I get is especially useful because you can use it in cafes, restaurants, bakeries, and many other places.
Then perhaps the employee asks, "Is that for here or to go?"
If you want to stay in the cafe, you can say, "For here, please." If you want to take your drink with you, you say, "To go, please."
Simple expressions, but they're very useful. And sometimes the difficult part is not knowing the vocabulary. The difficult part is understanding a familiar phrase when someone says it quickly.
Right. Is that for here or to go can sound like one long sound when a person speaks naturally.
This is why listening practice matters. You're training your ears, not only learning words.
Now, imagine that you order your coffee, but there's a small problem. You asked for a hot coffee and they give you an iced coffee.
This is where some learners become nervous because they don't want to sound rude.
Yes, but you don't need complicated English. You can simply say, "Sorry, I think I ordered a hot coffee."
I really like the phrase, "I think," in situations like this. You know what you ordered, but saying, "I think," makes the correction sound softer.
Another useful phrase is, "Sorry, I think there's been a mistake." Then you can calmly explain what happened.
For example, "I ordered the chicken sandwich, but I think this is the tuna sandwich."
And notice that you don't need to give a 5-minute explanation. Real-life English is often about saying enough to make the situation clear.
That's an important skill. Sometimes learners think better English means longer English.
But native and fluent speakers often choose short, practical sentences. If I need directions, I don't begin with a speech about my journey.
You probably shouldn't. Imagine stopping someone and saying, "Good morning. My journey began approximately 45 minutes ago."
They would slowly start walking away.
Instead, you can say, "Excuse me, do you know how to get to the train station?"
Or, excuse me, is the train station near here?
And here's another real-life skill, asking someone to repeat information.
This is incredibly important because even advanced learners don't understand everything the first time.
If someone gives you directions and speaks too quickly, you can say, "Sorry, could you say that again?"
Or, sorry, I didn't catch that.
"I didn't catch that" is a useful, natural expression. It means you didn't hear or understand what the person said.
And if one specific part is unclear, you can ask about that part. For example, did you say turn left after the bank?
That's much better than pretending you understood and then walking confidently in the wrong direction.
I have done that.
Really?
Many times. Someone explains the directions, I understand about 60%, and for some reason I smile and say, perfect, thank you.
And then?
Then I walk away and immediately realize I have absolutely no idea where I'm going.
Why don't you ask again?
I don't know. My confidence arrives at exactly the wrong moment.
That's actually a useful lesson. Good communication isn't about pretending that you understand. It's about knowing how to keep the conversation working.
Exactly. Phrases like, could you repeat that? Could you speak a little more slowly? And what do you mean by that? Give you control when you're confused.
And this becomes even more important when you're talking on the phone because you can't see the other person's face or body language.
Let's say you call a doctor's office, a hotel, a company, or a repair service. The person answers and starts speaking quickly.
You might say, "Hi, I'm calling about an appointment," or "Hi, I'm calling to ask about my booking."
That phrase, I'm calling about, is extremely useful because it immediately tells the other person why you're calling.
Maybe they ask for information and you don't understand the question. You can say, "Sorry, could you repeat the question?"
Or maybe you understand the words but need a moment to find some information.
Then you can say, "Just a moment, please," or "Let me check."
I use let me check all the time. It gives you a few seconds without creating an uncomfortable silence.
And if you need the other person to wait, you can say, "Could you hold on for a moment?"
These small expressions are powerful because they help you manage a conversation instead of feeling that the conversation is controlling you.
That difference matters. Speaking English in real life doesn't mean having perfect grammar every second. It means knowing how to respond when something unexpected happens.
Because unexpected things happen constantly. You miss a bus, your card doesn't work, somebody misunderstands you, you can't find an address, or you receive something you didn't order.
And sometimes you simply need more time to think.
Which is why one of my favorite real-life expressions is, let me think for a second.
That sounds much more natural than becoming completely silent while your brain searches through 10 years of English lessons.
Exactly. You can also say, that's a good question, even when you really mean, please give my brain 5 more seconds.
I think people use that in every language.
Definitely. And once you learn these conversation tools, you start noticing that real English is not only about vocabulary, it's also about buying yourself time, checking information, correcting misunderstandings, and keeping the interaction comfortable.
Another situation where these conversation tools become really useful is when you need to ask for help. Because in real life, we often need information from people we don't know.
And asking for help can feel uncomfortable in another language. You might know what you need, but you're not sure how to start the conversation naturally.
A simple "excuse me" is often enough. For example, "Excuse me, could you help me with this?" Or "Excuse me, do you know where I can find this?"
I like do you know where I can find because you can use it almost anywhere. In a supermarket, you might ask, do you know where I can find the rice?
In a shopping center, you could ask, "Do you know where I can find an ATM?"
And in an office building, you might say, do you know where I can find the reception desk?
Now, imagine you're in a supermarket. You need something very specific, but you don't know the English word for it.
Ah, this is a real test.
But you don't have to give up. You can describe the thing using the English you already know.
For example, I'm looking for something you use to open bottles.
Exactly. Maybe you don't know the word bottle opener, but the employee will probably understand what you mean.
This is such an important skill. Learners sometimes stop speaking because one word is missing.
But communication doesn't need to stop. You can explain the object, describe what it looks like, or say what people use it for.
If you forget the word umbrella, you could say, it's the thing you use when it rains.
And the other person will probably say, "Oh, an umbrella."
Then you've solved your problem and learned the word again at the same time.
This also works when you're describing a place. Maybe you don't know the exact name, so you say, "It's the small cafe next to the bank."
Or it's across from the pharmacy.
Let's explain across from because it appears constantly in real conversations. If one place is on the opposite side of the street from another place, we can say it's across from it.
So the restaurant is across from the hotel.
We also use next to, between, near, behind, and on the corner.
Those little location phrases become extremely useful when you're trying to find something in a new area.
Now let's say you finally find the store you need, and you want to buy a shirt.
This is another situation where a few flexible phrases can do a lot of work.
You see a shirt you like, but you need a different size. You can ask, "Do you have this in a larger size?"
Or do you have this in a medium?
If you want a different color, you can say, "Does this come in any other colors?"
That phrase, does this come in, is very useful for products. Does this come in black? Does this come in a smaller size?
And perhaps you want to try the shirt before buying it.
Then you ask, can I try this on?
Notice that we say try on for clothes. You put them on for a short time to see if they look good and fit properly.
And if the shirt is too small, you can say, it's a little too tight. If it's too big, you might say, it's a little too loose, or simply, it's too big for me. Then comes the dangerous part.
The price?
Exactly. You look at the price tag and suddenly decide that your old shirt is actually beautiful.
That happens, but maybe there's no price tag, so you need to ask, how much is this?
And if there's a discount, you might ask, is this on sale?
These are ordinary conversations, but notice how many useful patterns appear again and again.
Asking politely, checking information, describing things, asking for alternatives, and saying when something isn't right.
And those same skills can help you in more serious situations too.
Let's imagine you arrive at a hotel after a long trip. You're tired. You check in, you go upstairs, and your room key doesn't work.
That is exactly the kind of moment when all your beautiful textbook sentences disappear.
You go back downstairs and say, "Hi, I'm having a problem with my room key."
That phrase is worth remembering. I'm having a problem with. It gives you an easy way to introduce many different problems.
I'm having a problem with my internet connection.
I'm having a problem with my order.
I'm having a problem with my account.
After that, explain the problem simply. My room key isn't working. Could you check it for me?
You don't need perfect vocabulary. The goal is to help the other person understand what happened and what you need.
Now, suppose the receptionist explains something, but you're not sure you understood correctly.
You can check by saying, "So, do I need to come back here after 10?
This is called confirming information. You repeat the important idea in your own words to make sure you understood.
I do this even in my first language, especially with times, dates, addresses, and money.
Me too. If someone says, "Your appointment is Thursday at 2:30, I might answer, "Thursday at 2:30, right?"
Exactly. That tiny "right" can prevent a big misunderstanding.
Dates can be especially confusing because people sometimes say them differently depending on the country.
And numbers on the phone can be difficult too. 15 and 50 can suddenly sound like identical twins.
So there's nothing wrong with saying, sorry, was that 15 or 50?
Or, could you repeat the number slowly, please?
This is what confident communication really looks like. Confidence doesn't mean understanding everything immediately.
It means you're comfortable asking for what you need in order to understand.
There's another situation learners often worry about, small talk.
Yes, you're standing beside a coworker, a neighbor, or someone at an event, and suddenly you realize you should probably say something.
Small talk is a light, friendly conversation about ordinary topics. It doesn't need to be deep or especially interesting.
Which is good news for me because I'm not prepared to discuss the meaning of life every time I enter an elevator.
You can start with something around you. It's really busy today, isn't it? Or the weather is beautiful today.
At work, you might ask, "How's your day going?"
If someone says, pretty good, how about yours? You don't need a long answer. Not bad, thanks. It's been a busy morning.
And if you want to continue, ask a simple follow-up question.
That's one of the easiest ways to keep a conversation moving. If someone says, I went hiking this weekend, you can ask, oh, nice, where did you go?
If they say, "I'm visiting my family next week," you could ask, "Do they live far away?"
Follow-up questions show that you're listening, and they remove some pressure because you don't have to create a completely new topic.
You simply take one piece of information from what the other person said and ask about it.
And you can react before asking the question. Natural reactions include, really? That sounds nice. That's interesting. Or, oh, I see.
Imagine I say, "Emma, I tried making bread yesterday."
Really? How did it go?
Terribly.
What happened?
I followed the recipe, waited patiently, put it in the oven, and somehow created something that could probably be used to build a house.
So it was a little hard?
A little? Emma, I think the bread could survive a natural disaster.
Well, notice what happened there. I reacted to what Jack said, asked a follow-up question, and the conversation naturally continued.
And that's something you can practice without memorizing an entire dialogue. Learn a few reactions and a few flexible questions.
For example, how did it go? What happened? What was it like? And how did you feel about it?
Those questions work in many conversations because they invite the other person to give you more information.
But real-life conversation also means knowing how to finish a conversation politely.
Very important. Otherwise, you and your neighbor may still be standing in the hallway 3 hours later.
You can say, well, it was nice talking to you, or I should get going, but it was great seeing you.
At work, you might say, "I'd better get back to work."
And on the phone, thanks for your help. Have a good day.
These phrases create a natural ending without sounding cold or unfriendly.
There's one more everyday skill that can completely change how comfortable you feel in English, knowing how to respond when plans change.
Because plans always change. A friend is late, a meeting moves, a restaurant is full, or something you expected simply doesn't happen.
Suppose a friend messages you and says, I'm running about 20 minutes late.
"I'm running late" means you won't arrive at the expected time.
You could respond, no problem, take your time, if you're happy to wait.
Or if the delay creates a problem, you could say, "That's okay, but I need to leave by 7."
Clear, polite, and honest.
And maybe you're the person who needs to change the plan. You can say, "Something came up. Could we meet a little later?"
Something came up means something unexpected happened, and now you need to change your plan.
You don't always need to explain every detail. Sometimes that simple phrase gives enough information.
And if you need to cancel, you might say, I'm really sorry, but I won't be able to make it tonight.
"I won't be able to make it" is a natural way to say that you can't attend or arrive.
Then you can offer another possibility. Could we do tomorrow instead?
That little word "instead" is useful when you replace one option with another.
So, real-life English is starting to look less like a collection of thousands of separate sentences and more like a small set of flexible tools.
And once those tools become familiar, you can combine them in new situations, even when you've never practiced that exact conversation before.
And that ability to combine simple English in new situations is what makes you more independent as a speaker, because real life will always give you conversations you didn't prepare for.
Exactly. You can't memorize every possible conversation, but you can learn how to react, explain, clarify, and keep going when something unexpected happens.
Let's look at one more common situation: making a complaint politely. The word complaint can sound negative, but sometimes you really do need to explain that something is wrong.
Maybe your food arrives cold, you receive the wrong product, your internet isn't working, or you were charged the wrong amount.
In these situations, you can be clear without being aggressive. A useful beginning is, "Excuse me, I think there might be a problem."
Then explain the problem simply. I ordered the vegetarian meal, but I think this one has chicken in it.
Or, "I think I was charged twice for this."
Then you can ask for a solution. Could you check that for me? Or would it be possible to replace this?
Notice that you're focusing on the problem instead of attacking the person.
Yes, saying, you gave me the wrong thing can sound much stronger than, I think there's been a mistake with my order.
And usually, your goal is not to win an argument. Your goal is to solve the problem.
Although sometimes my goal is also to get the pizza I actually ordered,
That seems reasonable.
especially when I've been thinking about that pizza all afternoon. At that point, the situation becomes emotionally important.
Food can make people very serious. But this brings us to another useful real-life skill: expressing what you want without sounding too direct.
English has many soft expressions for this. Instead of saying, give me a table near the window, you can say, could we have a table near the window?
Instead of "change my appointment," you could say, "Would it be possible to change my appointment?"
And instead of, I want Friday, you might say, Friday would work better for me.
"Would work better for me" is especially useful when discussing times and plans.
For example, 3 o'clock would work better for me. Is that possible?
Now, sometimes the answer will be no.
A painful but important part of real life.
And you need English for that, too. Maybe someone says, "Sorry, we don't have anything available at 3."
You can respond, okay, what times do you have available?
Or, "Is there anything a little later?"
These phrases help you look for another option instead of getting stuck when your first choice isn't possible.
This is why words like another, instead, earlier, later, and available are so useful in daily English.
They aren't exciting vocabulary words, but they solve real problems.
And that's something learners sometimes forget. You don't need impressive vocabulary to have an effective conversation.
You need useful vocabulary that you can access quickly.
There's a big difference between recognizing a word when you see it and being able to use it naturally when someone is waiting for your answer.
That's why repetition matters. If you hear and use, could you say that again, 20 times, eventually you don't need to build the sentence in your head.
It becomes automatic. And automatic English gives your brain more space to think about the actual conversation. So, how can someone listening to us build that kind of automatic English?
One way is to collect phrases instead of collecting only individual words.
For example, instead of learning only the word available, learn a complete phrase like, "Do you have anything available this afternoon?"
Instead of learning only recommend, learn what would you recommend?
Instead of only learning repeat, practice, "Could you repeat that, please?"
Then your vocabulary is already connected to a real situation.
Another powerful method is shadowing. That means listening to a sentence and repeating it with the speaker.
Try to copy the rhythm, pronunciation, and speed. You don't have to sound exactly like us.
And please don't worry if you're slower at first. You can pause the audio and repeat the sentence several times.
Let's practice a few right now. Imagine you didn't understand me. You can say, "Sorry, I didn't catch that."
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Now imagine you need help in a store. "Excuse me, could you help me with this?"
Excuse me, could you help me with this?
You want to confirm a time. So that's Friday at 3, right?
So that's Friday at 3, right?
And your plans have changed. Something came up. Could we meet a little later?
Something came up. Could we meet a little later?
These are the kinds of sentences that are worth repeating until they feel comfortable in your mouth.
I like that expression, comfortable in your mouth, because speaking is physical. Your mouth needs practice making the sounds and rhythm.
Exactly. Reading a sentence silently and saying it naturally are two different skills,
And there's another habit that can help, talking to yourself in English.
which sounds strange until you realize you probably already talk to yourself.
I definitely do.
What kind of conversations are you having, Emma?
Usually very important ones, like where did I put my keys and why did I come into this room?
Advanced topics.
Very advanced. But seriously, you can describe small things during your day. I need to leave in 10 minutes. I'm looking for my bag. I forgot to buy milk.
That practice helps connect English to your real life instead of keeping English inside a textbook.
And when you notice something you cannot say, that shows you what vocabulary is actually useful for you.
Your real-life vocabulary depends on your life. Someone working in an office needs different phrases from someone traveling, studying, or taking care of children.
So you don't need to learn every English word before you start speaking.
Thankfully, because we would be here for a very long time.
Instead, start with situations that happen often in your own life and build useful language around them.
Maybe that means making appointments, talking to coworkers, ordering food, speaking to customers, or chatting with other parents at school.
And when you make a mistake, try not to let one imperfect sentence end the conversation.
Most conversations can survive a grammar mistake.
Absolutely. If you say, yesterday I go to the store, the grammar isn't correct, but the listener can probably understand you.
You can improve the grammar over time. The important thing in that moment is that communication continues.
Of course, accuracy matters, especially as you move toward B2 and beyond, but fluency also means being able to continue when your English isn't perfect.
Think of a conversation like crossing a river. Sometimes you step on a perfect stone, and sometimes your shoe gets a little wet.
That became surprisingly poetic.
Thank you. I've been working on it all morning.
But the idea is good. You keep moving. You don't return to the beginning every time you make a small mistake.
And you'll often discover that the other person is helping you. They might repeat something, use a simpler word, or understand what you mean from the context.
Communication is something people create together.
You don't have to carry the entire conversation alone.
Before we finish, let's review some of the most useful expressions from our conversation today.
We used, "Could you say that again?" when you need someone to repeat something.
I didn't catch that is another natural way to say that you didn't hear or understand.
"Let me check" gives you a moment to find information.
I'm looking for helps when you need to find an item, person, or place.
"I'm having a problem with" is a useful way to introduce a problem.
Could you check that for me? Ask someone politely to look at the problem.
"Something came up" explains that an unexpected situation has affected your plans.
And would it be possible to is a polite and flexible way to make many different requests.
You don't need to memorize all of these today. Choose 2 or 3 that are useful in your life and practice them aloud.
You could even pause this episode, imagine a real situation, and create your own short conversation.
For example, imagine you're calling to change an appointment. What would you say first?
Maybe, hi, I'm calling about my appointment on Friday.
Then, would it be possible to move it to Monday?
And if Monday isn't available, okay, what other days do you have available?
That's real communication. You're not memorizing a perfect speech. You're learning how to move through a situation.
And that is the main idea we want you to remember from today.
Real-life English is not about knowing the most difficult words. It's about having useful language ready when you need it.
It's knowing how to ask, answer, clarify, describe, react, solve a problem, and keep a conversation moving.
And every time you successfully handle one small conversation, the next conversation becomes a little less frightening.
So give yourself opportunities to use English, even if they're small. Speak aloud, repeat useful phrases, shadow conversations, and notice the English you need in your own daily life.
Don't wait until you feel completely ready, because speaking is part of how you become ready.
If you enjoyed practicing with us today, write a comment and tell us one real-life situation where you want to feel more confident speaking English.
Maybe it's at work, while traveling, in a restaurant, on the phone, at a store, or simply when meeting someone new.
And try writing one useful sentence you could use in that situation. It's a simple way to turn listening practice into active English practice.
You can also listen to this episode again and shadow some of our sentences. On the second listen, you may notice expressions you didn't notice the first time.
Thank you for spending this time with us here on Speak English for Beginners. We hope you learned English that feels practical, natural, and useful for your everyday life.
Keep listening, keep speaking, and remember that every real conversation is another chance to improve. We'll see you again soon on Speak English for Beginners.